Welcome back. We are here for the final game of the day. That is Lucendi Gaming versus Vector Gaming. Both these teams struggling, sitting at the bottom. Lucendi 0-4, Vector 1-3. However, some things to note. Both the teams have I don't know, they've had awkward strength of schedules, let's say. Lucendi 0-4, all four of those losses coming to the top teams. Perhaps today is a bit of a chance for them to show, hang on, we do deserve to be here. And for Vector, it's a chance to get another win on the board, take to 2-3, which gives them hints of a playoff chance. But they also in a similar situation. They've played the top teams in those three losses. So where both these teams stand will very much have to be shown today. But I'm curious to see what you think, Jamada, on which of these teams are the strongest. Do they deserve to be where they are currently in the league?
I feel like Vector have shown a little bit of creativity in the draft. I was very critical of last week's composition. It was special. I feel like Vector definitely could have taken one more game than they have, and Lucendi realistically could be 2-2 right now as well. I don't necessarily feel like they've deserved to lose all of their games. I've been saying this since about week 2. But as things have progressed, it feels like they have definitely sort of been on a downward trend. There hasn't really been too much improvement overall. Did make substitutions last week, and then also had players missing due to suspensions, which was very unfortunate. But now back with their full permanent roster, with Emil returning to the mid lane. So when you have league games like this where you're playing the teams around you, these are often the most important games to win. In a setup like this.
That fourth place playoff spot, it's not too far away, and you've got to beat the teams around you at this point. They're going to be looking at Vector. They're going to be looking at Revenge even as opportunity to try and climb that board. Perhaps it's a little bit out of reach for them so far, but someone like Vector, it's very, very possible still. They've just got to get that win today. They're sitting at 2-3. It's very doable. But yeah, and as you say, Lucendi, I think you're right. 0-4 is harsh. I went back and watched some of the games, and I'm like, 0-4 feels weird. They've played good teams, and they've done well. Now they have their full strength team playing against Vector, who have looked okay, it's fair to say, also against top teams. I would like to see Lucendi get a win on the board, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think Lucendi have a real chance here. I think on the predictions, I put down Vector. I'm pretty sure I put down Vector. But I feel like this is one of the games that
it's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. You kind of have to look at the draft and say, and give it a think. But jumping into picks and bans properly, Wukong and Senna both being removed away from Vector. It feels like no team really wants to deal with that when playing up against them ever since the week 2 draft, or week 3, I believe. However, we're no strangers to replacing the Senna curiously enough with the Ashe and trying to play out some very strange fasting Ashe kind of game. I like the theory behind it, but the execution wasn't quite there. But with all of the bans that we've gone through, Set manages to fall through the net and is going to be first picked up here by Lucendi.
Yeah, the Ezreal and the Senna taken away means that Ashe is on the board. Varus pretty much gutted by the recent nerfs, mean that if you are looking for that sort of engaged form from the ADC, Ashe makes an option. But instead, I'm really excited to see, we're going to see a Fiddlesticks now. We've seen what a Fiddlesticks can do, on even the highest stage of League of Legends. And it's horrific is the answer. It can do so much work. The question for me is going to be, and this is something I've seen, is this going to be a Fiddlesticks jungle, or, especially that Shyvana pick, is it going to be a Fiddlesticks top?
Okay, there's a lot of flexibility with this opening from Vector here. I don't want to speak too early. Of course, picking these sort of unusual champions does mean that Lucendi can get their hands on more traditional power picks. Things like the Aphelios are still there, the Thresh is still there. Even going something like Azir is fine in this particular setup, I feel. But opting for the MF, almost, I'm kind of not too much of a fan of this. But I don't like to critique drafts until they're fully done, so I'll have to wait and see what the full composition ends up being. That being said, I feel like when you're looking at these two champions, it's relatively hard to blind anything else but like Thresh or unengaged support. And you just play full kill lane with the MF unless you want to set there, in which case you take a jungler. But like we said, the Azir is a fine blind. Looking at these two very strange Vector R1, R2 champions. And now Vector have the opportunity to sort of pick the direction I feel like they want to try and find with this draft.
Yeah, at least they did get these picked up, say, on the side of Lucendi. So very much a power pick, a safe blind power pick currently in the meta. You have the set, as we're going to see another casting, you have the set as an option to flex between top and support, depending on what they do with that fiddlesticks. But yeah, a Cassadin into Azir, well, getting sort of reminiscing of last match already, where the Cassadin's just going to sit back. But into Azir, it definitely feels a little bit tougher to try and maintain that sort of wanting to get to the late game.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just says to me that Vector are willing to give up their mid lane priority and look to just play down sides with the Fiddle and the Shyvana, which I think is more than fine. Morgana ban, I'm honestly, I'm not sure where anything's going, with the exception of the Castle. So
I can't figure it out. You warned me about how these teams draft, and I'm sitting going, I get it now, I get it.
Vector come out with some wacky stuff, so Jinx, I mean, I'm not even sure Lucendi know what's going on at this point. This at least says to me, if Vector want a Felios, they can take Felios. Kalista would actually be pretty good with Fiddlesticks if it ends up going bot. However, the Kalista lane into MF specifically isn't necessarily always too great. It's very dependent on the support matchup. Fresh removed away makes a bunch of sense, just provides a lot of safety for the relatively immobile carries that Lucendi have picked so far. And now it's just down to Lucendi whether they want to ban out another AD carry. I feel like it's the only thing they can ban reliably, given the picks from Vector here. Whether they want to remove another unorthodox pick that Hawkeye might have in his back pocket or go down the more traditional route, it's really up to them. Timer ticks down. Tom Kench. Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure that one out, where that fits in. Perhaps they think that the Fiddle is not support. Perhaps they think the Fiddle's going top lane or something, and they just want to take that away. But even then, I don't know how that fits into the other team comp. Nonetheless, I'm sure there is some 200 IQ drafting that we don't know about, right? This is always something deeper, right? But the Swain instead will actually be picked up here, as I am now still trying to place where these guys are going. So perhaps a Swain support is where I'm at.
Grant,
help me.
Don't try and figure out. Just
is there going to be an ADC this game? No, I'm wondering if there's going to be an ADC.
Just let it happen. Just let it happen. This is Vector style right here, through and through.
You warned me. You said that like if they play to like just the good macro, they're quite good at their macro. They can win games, but then they love these like funky drafts, and it gets a bit weird.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like if they play traditional draft, they'll just win out through superior macro play, but they're just trying to draft it. They're just full on trying to mental game the entire roster of Lucendi before they even load in.
What have I got myself into here?
I don't know. Ornn makes a whole bunch of sense. It's really safe blind into most of the champions there. The only issue is if Niangi decides to pick up the Shyvana, it becomes almost a permanent winning side lane for Vector. Again, we'll just have to see what they are. 5. Like,
you could flex the Fiddle, you could flex the Shiv, you could flex the Swain. It does look like Felios, who actually, looking at it, got through the entire draft somehow.
Yeah.
I don't think I've. Oh no. Okay. Okay. I do need to check that is what they meant to pick. That is what they meant to pick. So yeah. Hang on. Right. You had as I knocked my mic in disbelief, you had an Aphelios option, you had good ADC options open, and you've gone to put the Aatrox top. Any ideas? Anything? Okay. Right. Let me praise Lucendi to start. Right. Really nice comp. The MF is a little bit of the sort of oddball here because that's going to be a bit more early focus. Of course, the Nautilus, great duo combo. You've got the Azir to go on into the late game as well. Really nice defense from the Ornn. I like the draft. Albeit, I would have preferred a Felios, but I like the draft of Lucendi. Right. I've done my bit. Now it's your bit. Right. Now it's your turn on the other team.
Okay.
I got in early, you see, so I can pass it over.
Okay, so I don't know where Vector can reasonably play through here. They've put themselves in a position where any champion that they put in the jungle role is gonna be weaker than whatever Lucendi ended up with, just by nature of having Fiddlesticks and Shyvana. That's a sentence I didn't expect to say today. And I mean, I don't know about the specifics of Fiddlestick Swain bottom lane. So, look, I promised you a wacky draft.
You did
Vector,
promise me it. They
Vector
delivered.
Vector more than delivered. I they outscale? I don't know. Like, if there's any saving grace, there's not a lot of hard CC really out of the Lucendi draft, like point and click wise. Just the Nautilus. So if the Kassadin can get to that point, then again, much like last game, had the Kassadin of Arasuko gone really far into that game, would have had a relatively easy time. And I feel like that's going to be the case here for Berry as well. But I have to ask questions. How do you get there with this draft? Like, this is, guys, in the chat, I hope you're ready. This is gonna
We're
be
in for a banger.
Yeah, this is, any way you look at it, stomp, 40-minute slugfest, 30-minute for Baron. No, like, you're in for a treat, and I'm happy that I get to cast this game.
I tell you what, this is when I'm happy that I'm a play-by-play and not a color. I don't have to figure out why they've done these picks. I just have to say what they do. It's great.
I know my job's supposed to be figuring out what they've done with the picks, but how do I figure out what these picks are supposed to do?
I'll point some things out, right? So, like, you've got a lot of speed on the side of Vector. You've got a lot of abilities to run forward at the team. Swain could go fast, Atrox fast, Shiv throwing out her sort of fire damage, Casting dashing forward, Fiddlesticks coming over. You've got a lot of not direct engage tools, but if you catch them out in the jungle, or even if you have a little bit of a flank of any kind, Sprinter can do what he needs to do to ensure the rest of the team can catch up and dive in. Now, that is reliant on a couple of items. That is reliant on, probably like level 11s at that point. So it's not easy because you won't get a lot of damage coming out that cast in. And to an extent, the Swain and the Fiddle early. But I can see this, like, it's a wombo in a very different style, right? It's not like direct CC wombo. It's more about just collapsing and just diving onto the enemy team. And when you do have an Azir and you do have an MF that are a little bit squishy, you can blow them up. The problem is you got to get through a Nautilus and a Norn first.
Yeah.
That's my best attempt. That's all I've got.
that's about as best an attempt I probably could have given this draft too. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is just going to be a game for Lucendi that just tests their fundamentals as a team. I feel like they should, parentheses, have an easy time into this draft, as long as, they're playing off of their lane priorities, they're playing to their strong sides, and it is going to actually be AD Shyvana. This is going to be on hit Shyvana. Shyvana's running PTA, so
okay.
At least trying to. I had fears of the magic damage profile being way too high. Would it have been AP Shyvana? I still feel like that's kind of the case because you're running what is effectively double mage bot with Kassadin. So itemization is still going to be pretty easy, at least for the frontliners of Lucendi, of course. But I mean, I just don't know how Vector reasonably win this game for the first 25 minutes of the game without it being unforced error of Lucendi. I feel like because Lucendi have gone down the traditional route, all they really have to do is sort of avoid surprise party Fiddlesticks elements, and they're fine. There's no fear. There's no massive AoE wombo combo damage. There's no resets off the Aatrox, and the scaling aspects of Azir, Ornn, the team fighting abilities of the Azir, Ornn, Set, Nautilus, MF, everything that Lucendi have crafted for themselves. It should just carry them through the game.
It should. They're going to have to find some flanks. They're going to have to find some picks, I guess. AD Shyvana, I think it makes a bit more sense for this team, at least in terms of balancing out the AP to AD ratio. Albeit, been a long time since I've seen an AD Shyvana, and how that work, we'll have to see. But yeah, this is Lucendi's game to take.
Yeah, certainly Lucendi's game to win. I feel like they'll be disappointed in themselves if they lose this game. Is how I feel about it. But man, I'm just taken aback by this Vector draft. I was expecting something wacky. I wasn't expecting something wacky. We're in for a treat. Anyway,
I'm excited to cast it. I'm excited for us. That's what I'll say. I'm excited for us. So, very standard start. No crazy invade like last game for this one, unlike last time. So, the standard starts. Hawkeye, Sprinter, that Fiddle, that Swain Bolt. Gonna have to see how they do trying to get pressure in that lane. You know, first Drake will be a mountain, which would be very nice on the side of Lucendi with that Ornn, with that set. Curious to see also in Peru. It's been a little while since set jungle was a thing. Like, it has moved a little bit out of the meta in recent times. Still picked up by a few teams, but not as shown or as strong. They did choose to flex it into jungle instead, which was nice. So curious to see how Peru does into Sarset, who I imagine Sarset just wants to farm and farm and farm.
Yeah, the Shyvana really just wants to sort of, you know, full clear, try and get as much CS as possible, level up to that level 6, get the dragon form, and then she can start skirmishing around the map a little bit. And I feel like that's gonna have to be the name of the game here for Vector. I feel like they're just gonna have to slog it out in the most unconventional, sloppy way possible, and sort of just make Lucendi forget about, you know, fundamentals. Take them away from being able to play an organized game.
Make them forget how to play the game.
Yeah,
I love
like
that.
literally make them forget how to play League of Legends, and they should be fine. So, if you're rooting for Lucendi right here, this is the game. This this is the game where you look at it and you think, okay, we can get ourselves up on the board. We won't go through the entire split undefeated. That being said, of course, Vector, as a team, their macro has been sort of a cut above most of the league. So maybe they pull out some crazy things, but I feel like they're just gonna end up losing out in priority in too many lanes. I feel like Aatrox doesn't really control the Ornn matchup too well. I know there's always sort of been mixed opinions on the Aatrox Ornn matchup. I feel like it's realistically Ornn favored, and it takes a really strong Aatrox player to make that matchup work. And as time goes on, eventually the Aatrox sort of just slowly gets bullied out. And then Kassadin should realistically never have priority into Azir. And we're seeing, at least on the bottom side, that MF is winning out early on into this Swain Fiddlesticks. So
yeah,
it's going to be slow.
As you expect and as you see, all three lanes are getting pressure, although Barry is pushing a little bit back as it Millol. That is it, is going to get the pressure. What this does mean is it opens up Lucendi to some nice ganks, but as I said, Sarset playing the AD Shyvana version means that he just wants to power farm, so doesn't quite fit in even from that stand. And what it does mean is Peru has free range of this entire map, whether it's into the enemy jungle, as you see him trying to do a little bit of invade down, we'll see a wall to clear, or whether it's just to focus the objectives and help his lanes get even further ahead.
Yeah, Peru really looking to try and get a snowball going somewhere. You would imagine probably bottom side. He's been hovering around here for a while now. As hook.
Hook will automatically land on Synapse Sprinter, and that means a flash fall from Peru. He will actually double grab both, and that will take down Synapse Sprinter for first blood. Hawkeye trying to return damage for a really, really nice gank there, and a beautiful flash fall from Peru. That gets the ball rolling for Lucendi.
Yeah, ball rolling, and that's all Peru really needs to do. And with Synapse Sprinter not having flash available to him now, it's just free repeat ganks. Now, on the bright side for Vector, Sarset is able to at least walk into the top side and get some counter jungle on, as seeing a nice enough trade for the Angie there. Looks like he's gonna stick around for also the Wolf Camp, so Peru could actually end up walking into him here, and we could see a little more blood, but I feel like Sarset is gonna be able to clear out this camp fast enough and leave. In fact, Peru is just, seems like he's accepting the fact that his top camp's probably gone. He's just gonna walk down to his bottom side. And okay, well, that looks fun.
We actually do see a lot of damage coming down there onto the bot lane. That is what happens when you land everything. Meanwhile, though, they're going to try and take down mid. Starset here is a little bit faster onto Millol. Doesn't have the damage follow. Press attack is not enough. And Millol just walks out. No need to use the flash. Now look on the bot side river. Peru is here once turns. He doesn't want to let them take the pressure. Now he's going to run. Doesn't have flash time. Will smite Barry down. But flash away from Barry ensures his life is saved. Is it Barry or Barry? I've been realized I'm calling him Barry and there's a 3 there. It's probably Barry. Anyway.
But you know what? Grant,
Go on.
he's Berry, but when he plays
Berry.
bad, maybe we
We'll call it back. You know what? I've spammed this cherry to help Berry, is what I'm hearing. But instead, it should be Barry. I prefer that. I'm just going to call him that for the game. But yeah, good work from Peru there to match Sasa. And we saw what the Shyvana could do early, and the answer is it could do nothing.
I mean, it just has to sit here and farm, and I don't think Sasa had even reset yet. So only now getting that reset and has his entire jungle to farm if he wants it. And instead, Ping's coming out towards the bottom side, potentially looking for some blood here, but it's just 3 champions walking at 2 champions.
Yeah, you see, it's not enough. A hook away gets Yo-Young out. You know, even when Sarsit walks in, there's not enough CC lockdown, even with the fear. Yeah, it's just really, really awkward for these ganks at the moment. Now, it will become different later on, obviously, as that Shyvana builds up. But as we wait for that, it's just, there's nothing to help them out, get out of these lanes effectively.
Yeah, and I mean, this gank does mean that there's actually a window for the early Mountain Dragon. So Shyvana, of course, as a champion, loves to pick up early dragons when affordable. And in this case, the gank sort of buys that time to do so. So Vector, very happy with this pickup at the very least. And does mean Hawkeye and Cyanide Sprint are going to be able to get their recall off, and interesting to see whether or not they're going to opt to rotate to the top side, judging by the minimap movement and Niangi forcing in this top wave. It seems like the answer is going to be yes.
Yes, a good dragon picked up there for them, using that pressure on the bot side that they had managed to get at least from the gank. So that Mountain Drake will go onto their side. Doesn't do too much work for them admittedly, but with more to take away from Renekton up there on that Ornn. Meanwhile, there is a little bit of a CS lead in the mid lane. That's to be expected, 20 CS, and that's translating to a lot of that gold lead you see. About just over a 1,500 at the moment for the side of Lucendi, that first blood doing work for them. Yeah, great work so far from Emil Lol. But what we are going to see in return is an early lane swap. With them getting that dragon, they want to push that bot lane to the top side and threaten Rift Herald.
Yeah, exactly. And very much Vector-esque rotating up early for the Heralds. It's very rare that they give up these early neutral objectives like this, so very much on theme to how they usually play. And Sarset now up here. I'd imagine Sarset actually wants to reset relatively soon. He's been out on the map for a little while, and he's full cleared his jungle, so probably even has jungle IM with that much CS. As Pura is a full level down. I mean, expectedly so, with how full clear Sarset has been. And I've just realized Fiddlesticks Cyanide Sprinter is running probably the most on-theme skin you could have for this game.
Love that. We are actually going to see Rift Herald threatened here. It was initially started by the side of Vector, but it looks like Lucendi don't want to give it time. Instead, they're going to see an engage. That's an immediate flash away from Kyoyoung and Jordan. Double flash for their bot lane. They do not want to take that. They see how strong Shyvana is. So they will take the Rift Herald, but instead, Lucendi, they're going to kind of reset the fire. Hook will land forward onto the Cassin. That's the one I want to try and catch, but he will rip all the way.
Oh.
Now there's a lot of damage, but that's a huge wombo! And the Ornn knocks up to him, picks up a double kill for himself. Now they're just trying to clean up the fight. Niangi caught out. They're trying to take him down. They will already. 4 kills down. Lucendi absolutely clean up that fight with the wombo.
Yeah, and an amazing face breaker there from Peru. Just basically turns the fight as one-sided as it can get. The Ornhorn follow-up is fantastic. About as optimal as a fight could be for Lucendi here. And now this is where I have to start asking questions about the Vector draft, because now that they've had this really tragic early game, losing out the first blood, losing out a fight as horrifically as this, even gonna have the Rift Herald drop down early, what are the fallback conditions here?
Hawkeye's just gonna go down. Berry almost taken with him. They're talking about fallback conditions. I really can't see them. This is a weird one to cast. You know, you saw the initial engage come out from Sarset, and it looks good when they're trying to force a fight, but as soon as the fights turn onto them, well, they do not have the resources to carry it. And yeah, another kill for the side of Lucendi. They're going to pick up a lot of plates on mid there, and this gold lead is now extended to 3 and a bit K at just 10 minutes.
Yeah, and someone needs to tell Hawkeye to maybe make it a little less obvious. I don't know. That was... he just walked into Peru, just melee range for no reason. And just hands over another free kill, so now it's just widened the gold lead even more. Mid-tier 1 in a position where all it really takes is one good siege, and now Vector's bottom lane gonna soon have access in pairing to their ultimates, but it's too little too late. They tried to take a fight in the river without the ultimate from Fiddlesticks and without the Swain Demonic Ascension either. So they took that fight willingly into an Ornn, into Set, into Azir, into MF, all of which I'm pretty sure all had ultimates available to them. And they just got rolled. So now it's just like, okay, do we just sit here and try and slow bleed so that Kassadin can attempt to 1v9 in this game? You know, what do the other components of this Vector draft actually offer outside of Arceus? The answer is realistically not too much, as
yeah, the offense actually cancelled there onto Synapse, but he did not get to pull it as another great face breaker from Puru Venta. But the arrows, they're going to turn onto the Misfortune. Jorday's down. Now that's on the TP is in, and Niangi is, sorry, not Niangi. They are here to help on the fight. That's Berry trying to take down damage. They're going to walk away instead. A nice pickup there, actually. In fact, it didn't look good for them initially when that ultimate on the Fiddlesticks got cancelled, but they don't need it. The TP's enough, and this will be a second Drake for them, you think?
Okay.
And, well, that is a wink edition of sorts.
All right, roll an Infernal Soul, and I'm betting on Vector. I just
We've so quickly turned.
Yeah, give me an Infernal Soul, give me a few more Fiestas, then maybe I'm feeling it. But I mean, like I said, the only real, all right, there we go, the Infernal Soul. Okay.
Well, we spoke too far ahead of ourselves. Synapse managed to get it caught out, so he will go down. Look at that drain, though, healing him. Actually, does a lot of damage there. Forces it out. The Haymaker picks up the kill, but Yoan getting a little bit scared there, so I guess we can see the power of the Fiddlesticks. But Dragon was picked up. Infernal Soul is on the board. A little bit more interesting, perhaps, than this game first suggested.
Yeah, I mean, one of the strengths of the Vector comp is, you know, sort of skirmishing in the Dragon and Baron areas or tight sort of jungle passages. So, you know, if they can get themselves into a position come this next Infernal Dragon spawn up where they can set up the vision and Fiddlesticks can find a really good ultimate, then maybe, but these are really, really conditional things, whereas the execution floor for Lucendi here is much lower. You know, it's press your Arceus, hit what's in front of you, and it should just slowly but surely die. Whereas
we saw that in the first fight, right?
Yeah, exactly. We saw that with the first big team fight. All it really took was Puru flashing in, getting that massive face breaker, and everything that followed was just detrimental to the Vector draft. And I mean, I feel like that was more or less Vector's error, not realizing that they needed the ultimates available to them to actually contest that Herald. But, you know, they live and die by these neutral objectives. So no surprise that they still attempted to contest it. But if we take a small step back and look at the items as a whole, Vector aren't doing too terribly. Synapse Sprint is getting really close to the Frozen Heart. Hawkeye is eventually, you would imagine by the time this next dragon spawns up at the very least, he should have the Haunting, not the Haunting guys, the Leandries available to him. So the bottom lane of Vector should be ready to fight around this next dragon. I feel like you probably don't want to take a fight at this Herald, as the side of Lucendi should be on a stronger spike. However, like I said, the Vector live and die by these neutral objectives, and they are losing out on these hour towers now. Mid tower dropped not too long ago, and bottom tier 1 is going to follow suit. And I mean, again, given the posturing from Vector, it seems like they're trying to get the early in here, but it's just going to be bloody. I don't know what way it's going to go.
There's a lot of gold being picked up on the side of Lucendi in pick up this first two turrets. As you say, a lot of vision invested into that top side for Vector, though. So as you say, Jamad, as they shift pressure to the top side, they want to take these neutral objectives. They've set up correctly for Rift Herald. However, they had the setup last time, and we saw what happened. Yangi, he does have teleport on his side, so he will be able to get this fight as needed. Renekton also has one as well. They're going to spot Young out here, and Sarsit trying to put some damage down. You are seeing what that Shavada can do with just the one item, the Blood Razor to his name. So that pushing out will help them a little bit in this fight, but it's not about that. It's about who engages on who here. We've seen what Vector can do when they engage. We've seen what Lucendi can do when they engage, and they've got the All-Horn to match. very, very much on the knife's edge here as we see this Rift Herald slowly started.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought the fight was going to break AM. Instead, they're going to try and turn on the sign outs. Facemaker will pull him forward. Now a dash forward from Emilio, but the Empress Divide will go wide as Synapse flashes away. He does have Alter's name. He wants to come back in. Instead, now they're going to try and fight that beautiful hook onto the Sway will take him down. But now the Fiddle's got in. Shivada's on the backside, even through the exhaust, managed to pick up Jordan. Ord is TP'd onto the top side, though, and knocks up too. And that means that Puru is going to be able to clear up this fight. The Showstopper takes him down. On the other side of the fight, they've lost their carries. Emilio and Jordan went down to Berry and Sase. A very, very split fight between who is the carries on the team. And what that means is probably nobody's going to pick up Rift Herald. I say that, Puru will start it himself.
Yeah, Puru feeling pretty confident. Albeit, I don't think, I was going to say,
I was going to say,
yeah. He'd really be feeling himself if he'd tried to take up that Herald there. But like I said, these fights can go either way because the R buttons of Vector, well, it's mostly just the Fiddlesticks ultimate really, but you know, it's the kind of tool where especially Fiddlesticks isn't a champion that you play versus often in a competitive environment. You know, it's reared its head in some of the big regions, TSM being a team I know played it in the mid lane, this tank variant specifically. But again, I still have to ask questions, man. Like, it's just such a very peculiar draft, and seems like they're not actually going to be able to get their in onto this dragon. I feel like this is actually a mistake, but given the fact that they don't have ultimates, they don't really have much say-so in trying to take up this Infernal Dragon, so gonna at least try to trade it off with this Herald, but given how late they started it, you feel like Lucendi could actually walk over here and make it in time.
Yeah, Lucendi know this is happening. Immediately a flash away there already. Most likely to reset the spellbook. It does get picked up in time by Sarsit, so he will get away in time. Trying to figure out where that flash came from. Definitely saw a flash somewhere.
It was the Fiddlesticks effigy.
Oh my god, I've been tricked. I've been tricked. It works. It does. See, anyone who says it doesn't work, it works. It's even fooled me on casting. What can I say? But Rift Herald was at least picked up. They trade objective. I think it's a nice trade for Lucendi there. You know, they have a lot of the towers. The first two towers on the map, they've got a lot of gold down already. Instead, threatening to take away that Infernal Soul and take that Drake is good. Meanwhile, you're going to see an engaged top. Sarsit will not land the fire circle. That means that Renekton can flash away in the meantime. They'll try and push this top side. Expect to drop Rift Herald here, most likely try and take this top turret. But Renekton, instead of going to walk out, Renekton will push that side out. So far, the game going kind of as we expected, and these fights working outside Lucendi, and that's led to a 5k gold lead.
Yeah, okay.
We're going to see an all-in here. Empress Divide came down from Milo, trying to push Berry into his tower. A couple of shots land, and Emilio just followed forwards with his soul to pick that one up. Berry looked to engage that fight, but didn't appreciate the damage that had come out from Emilio. That's him going down, and it's really not what Vector needed for pressure on the map.
Yeah, just not respecting the Azir passive turret there. And just gets divided straight into it. Yeah, like you say, not what Vector need right now on the map. Does mean that if Lucendi so wish, they can choose to rotate down. In this case, Puru is here to put a little bit of hurt onto the tower. You would imagine actually they can just take it outright. Seems like the answer will be yes. And Vector, of course, moments ago, did at least manage to pick up the Herald in that trade. I feel like you say, Lucendi really, really winning out on that trade. Ooh, chain's interrupted here.
Yeah, Niangi, he's actually going to go into his final form. He's trying to connect him, but what he doesn't realize is the bot lane is collapsing on him. Now it's on to 3v1. Exhaust comes out. Jordan will pick up that one. A beautiful bait there from Renekton. And just as Niangi thinks he's got himself a little 1v1, the entire map is turned on him.
Yeah, and I'm really kind of disappointed here in Vector. Like, no, they have the Herald, they see free top. They even see them, I believe, based practically on vision. And they don't use the Herald practically. They don't try and walk into the mid lane. They just let the pick happen for free. And I mean, I suppose you can credit it to the fact that there's a huge lack of vision in the topside river right now. So maybe not feeling too confident to just go and instantly react. But Lucendi just find their pick for free. Niangi sort of just oversteps. Understandably so, trying to just take over the side lane. But this is the problem with the Aatrox pick. If it doesn't get set ahead early on into the Ornn matchup, then it's gonna just sort of become a null and void champion, just kind of by default, especially when you're talking about it has to operate into an MF and an Azir, a Set, it struggles. It struggles really hard. In this case, it was just Lucendi reading the map better. As seems like we're going to get a team fight.
Puru actually flashed away, and the Emperor's Divide will mean that they will not be able to take that fight. A nice escape from Puru, but good damage coming out from Vector. You can see, however, they struggle to lock people down and end that fight. What I was going to say, as Rift Child has popped mid here, perhaps wait on that as we see what they do with Rift Child. Instead, it looks like just going to push that in. Will not take the turrets. That's a really, really poor Rift Child usage. I was going to say, as you're talking about the Aatrox and what it does, remember that the Aatrox was the last pick. This is what they wanted into the enemy team. This is what they wanted to take, and so far it's not working out.
Yeah, and okay, well, I think Renekton's going to get run down here, but there's a teleport coming in.
Renekton gets a lovely double knock-up on his pillar there. Now Amirlor's flash forward. He doesn't have Emperor's Dive, but he's going to shift Sands forward, trying to get damage on Sarset. Sarset walk away. Actually not great for the side of Lucendi there, because they had to expel a TP for it, but what you don't realize, they got a lot of pressure mid as well for it, so they'll pick up a tier 2 turret there. They will also pick up the tier 2 in bot. This is 5 turrets to 0 on a team that contains an Azir. It's looking tough for Vector. Looking tough.
Yeah, it's just progressively getting worse here for Vector, and I mean, I can complain as much as I want about the draft, but at the end of the day, it's also down to the players, right? They don't seem, as a team, cohesively, they don't seem to be able to actually utilize the champions like properly. They didn't seem to understand that at that first Herald, they couldn't contest it, right? They need the Fiddlesticks ultimate. They need the Swain R even realistically to provide a little bit more sustained damage. First in here are the Dragon. Oh, okay.
We are seeing a fight break out here. Emperor's Divide comes down to Shyvana, and the showstopper means that there's no jungle in this fight. Lucendi just easy win these fights. They can do nothing. It was started by Vector, but it's turned around. Puru's chasing Hawkeye, trying to land that face breaker. The W coming out will slow him, and he doesn't have it up in time. He'll walk away. These fights are not even close, as Hawkeye's forced to flash away and exhaust both the summoners coming out there. 0-3 Swain, 0-4 Fiddlesticks. This is really, really not going the way of Vector.
Yeah, and with that fight going down, the Infernal Dragon second of the game for Lucendi, given the gold lead, the game state, you would imagine now that it should be pretty much smooth sailing from here if you are on the blue team. And all they really need to do is just spend their gold, get their resets off, and just posture around Baron. And even though, yes, it is an enclosed space where you would say, hey, maybe Fiddlesticks gets to sort of operate well, the gold lead just screams it's too big.
I can't stay away from Vector, and you have to think that with this style of comp where you have no traditional ADC, they do need to find ways to get ahead. In fact, it went the complete opposite way. You've got a 4-0 for Ornn that is arguably uncarryable. Puru 4-0 8, and with a Dead Man's Plate and Dead Man's Plate to his name, along with that Cinder Hulk, you've got 2 tanks that are unkillable and no ADC to take them down. The one you're relying to do the damage right now is Sarset, and that's a melee champ. It's just so hard for Vector to find opportunities into this game, and you're going to see it here now. They'll try. Look, they just let Renekton walk away. Like, it's just, I personally see no way for Vector back in this game, but then again, perhaps you've got an idea of what they can look for.
They can only really try and find picks, but they don't have per se good pick tools. They have champions that want to just operate in a death ball comp, but they can't do that. And if they can't do that, then these champions don't really do much when they're put together like this. So you'd imagine, if you're Vector side here, back to the drawing board again. I've kind of praised, air quotes, the creativity of the Vector drafts, but it gets to a point where you have to start sort of at least drafting some kind of reasonable condition.
That's the thing.
Yeah, for yourself.
I mean, Vector, lads, I love you, but I'm going to say your draft stinks, right? It doesn't work in this team. I'm sure you'll find opportunity next time. As there you go, another Emperor's Divide from Shifting Sands came out there. Face Breaker will pull in Sarset. That's him down. No jungler on the map means that they will immediately turn to Baron, and you're just seeing Vector can do so little to this comp. Even as you walk into this game, you have to wonder, what is their win condition? I could not see it. Well, despite 2 Drakes going against them, Lucendi, they've done their job. They've got the goal lead ahead. They're going to pick up 2 Infernals. They're now going to pick up an easy uncontested Baron to their name. It's just up to them now to close out this game.
Yeah, and I couldn't say it any better myself. It's really just on Lucendi to have a no-nonsense mentality here to wrapping up this game. They know they're in the lead. They're in a monumental lead. And with this Baron buff, it's only going to exacerbate that. And they should just be able to spread out this Baron and close out the game realistically, even within the duration of the buff. It should only take one good team fight here for Lucendi to just end everything for Vector, tie up the standings. And Lucendi, I mean, given I kind of have to I don't want to take away any credit from Lucendi because they played fine in this game, but I have to look at the other side and think, how much of it is really Lucendi's doing? With the Vector just opting into some weird stuff, to put it lightly.
No, exactly. And some praise indeed to Lucendi. They've played these fights well. I said both the fights on the Rift Towers they've played superbly. They got that lead ahead in the first couple. They've really done well to translate their pressure across the map to take these towers. So, and again, every time it feels that they get a sort of set of waves pushing, they seem to take 1, 2, 3 towers with it. This time they use the Baron in a 1-3-1 comp, Ornn on the top side, 0 on the bot side. That's going to lead to 2 inhibitor turrets already going down. They're looking to immediately turn onto spot inhibitor. Hook will land onto Silent Sprinter. Barrier comes out. It's enough that he's taken down by the Nautilus. Now Sarsa's trying to go into backline. Immediately jumps at the middle, but it's not enough. He's got a flash away and running for his life. Baron minions are pouring in as Hook lands wide from Yo-Young. Everything going the side of Victor right now. Sorry, of the side of Lucendi right now, even. And it's 5v4 in the base. Baron minions are all pushing in double inhibitors down. The triple is an option. Ultimate out from the MF puts down a lot of damage. Yengi, he's trying to go down. Showstopper pull him away. They've already taken down Swain in his demonic ascension. They land a hook onto Hawkeye. That will be the game. And just as you think it's starting to get going, it's all over at 27 minutes. Lucendi pick up their first win of the UKEL split.
And all I've got to say is, can I get my prediction back? It's hard to analyze a game like this. I mean, Vector obviously came out with some idea. Whether it was a good one or a bad one, it's kind of up to perception. But yeah, it just seemed like, at least to me, if I'm trying to take this one a little seriously, when it came to that Herald fight, that was kind of the turning point for the rest of the game. As soon as they lost out on that fight, there was no real comeback mechanic. They're running with a Kassadin, and they don't have any viable wave clear. All it really took from that point was the side of Lucendi just walking around the map and taking towers as they please. And like I've said, creativity, sure, but it comes to the point where you've just got to say, just play standard. Now,
I think that's the biggest learning point, right, from this game for them.
Yeah.
You're picking up the Kassadin for a little bit late game. You've got an Azir to go against it, so it's a little bit more matched. You've got to get the fights going early or find those early wins. They got the 2 Drakes, right? They got 2 Drakes at name with threatening Infernal Soul, but as soon as they start fighting, you see how tough it is for them to even get picks. And as soon as Ornn is there with his horn, I mean, it feels like you just cannot win those fights. Yeah, I mean, we were scratching our heads before the game started. I think we're still scratching our heads with the game ends. I'm just sad as a play-by-play caster that we had a Swain fiddle bot lane and I wasn't able to make a joke around the crows because nothing happened with them. That was my moment and I couldn't see it anywhere. So
we don't they go full crow bot lane and
they're playing TFT. So it's fine. There's no crow bonus.
Yeah, and in game, like I said. I don't want to say it's hard to give credit to Lucendi, but it seemed like Vector just really didn't understand their draft, and with the execution floor so low, given the draft of Lucendi, it just kind of felt like they just had to play the game out naturally, and outright they'd win the game 8-9 times out of 10. But I have to definitely credit Puru though. Puru had a really fantastic game. Was practically the sole reason why they won out on that first dragon. He went towards the bottom side early. He shut down that really wacky Fiddlestick Swain lane. And a lot of the success of Lucendi out of this game definitely can be credited to Puru.
Well, talking of Puru, we have to name an MVP for the game. I think it must go to the man himself, indeed, as you mentioned, Puru. Brilliant game, said move around the map. Some beautiful face breaker moments there. Pulled in a lot of champs. I remember him cancelling a Fiddle ultimate. I remember pulling in 2 to 3 people in a fight. You know, that first fight, I think he got a 3-man face breaker into the all knockup. So really, really well played from him. Absolutely deserved MVP. This does mean that Lucendi go to 1 and 4 in the standings. So they'll move up the board. Probably a little bit too late to do that playoff run. But we see that when they play the comp standard, when they play it right, they can pick up the wins. And the next couple of weeks, they've got slightly easier teams to, you know, get a couple more on the board.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's mathematically impossible for them to reach playoffs. I think last split 3-4 was the cutoff, and it was based on head-to-head or game time or something like that. So, you know, Lucendi realistically could make a comeback here. I want to say they've already played Resolve. If they haven't, then I take back everything I just said, because pretty sure they'll end up losing that game if they haven't already.
They have not played Resolve, you are correct. So it's
right,
probably going to be it for them.
Yeah.
But, you know, they've still got Revenge to go. You know, they can get that second one on the board. And, you know, for a team, I think they've had a half-decent split. In the sense that, yes, they are 0-4 or 1-4 now, but at least the games were close. At least they were putting good battles in. Probably didn't deserve to be where they are. You know, 2-4 would probably feel okay for them.
Yeah.
Okay. They would have hoped for more, but...
Definitely so.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that concludes today's games for us. Finishing out with... I want to call it a banger, but certainly an interesting game nonetheless in that last one. Lucendi picking up win and moving up to 1-4, Vector dropping down. That concludes today's games, and we will be seeing you on for next Thursday. In the meantime, I just need to say thank you so much for having me on as a one-time cast. Really, really enjoyed that. And thank you for casting me, Jamada.
Of course, and it's brilliant to have you on.
Awesome. It's great to be here. Hope you enjoyed the games this evening, and we will see you next time in week 5 of the UKEL.